Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 10th annual Chattanooga Film Festival's live Q&A for Sour Party, written and directed by the Drextons. And in attendance at this marvelous virtual event is none other than The Drextons, Michael and Amanda, who are the writers and directors. Amanda also plays James, one of our leading ladies. Samantha Westervelt plays Gwen, the other co-lead of the film. Reggie Watts plays Reggie. He is not here with us, but he is in spirit. Nathan Owen plays Van. He's right there with Amanda and Michael. Douglas Bennett plays Monty. And we have Stephen Moreno, who is the director of photography, and Lauren Lala Argo, who is production designer. Welcome, everyone, to the Chattanooga Film Festival. How are you doing?
Great.
Hey.
Awesome.
Good to be here.
Excellent. We're high energy tonight.
Pardon me.
I see some of you have already started drinking, right? So, you know, you absolutely, yeah, you're in good company here. So yeah, let's get this kicked off. I have some questions for you, and then we'll see if we can kick it over to the live stream chat on the Discord and see if they have a few questions for you. I'm going to start out with the writers and directors, the Drextons, Amanda and Michael. I've been comparing this. I even did this in my intro on the ground. I've been comparing this to Laverne and Shirley. I've also heard folks compare it to Broad City, or rather, when I say Laverne and Shirley, like Laverne and Shirley on mushrooms, right? Like an acerbic sort of Laverne and Shirley. But I've also heard people compare it to Broad City, but I want to hear it from the source. I want to know what your influences for this actually were. Buddy movies, road movies, hangout movies, and comedies in general. Like, what inspired you?
I would say so many, but like Romy and Michelle
is the number one direct influence.
Number one. I didn't realize how much that was like ingrained into my system until we were trying to like get references for the trailer, and we're like, let's watch the Romy and Michelle trailer. And then they even break down the side of the road. Like I forgot all about those moments.
And then we did our trailer as like we wanted to do like a 90s parody trailer. We actually modeled it like the beats of it off of the Romeo and Michelle like vintage trailer. So if you go watch that trailer, you'll be like, oh my God.
It's like Romeo and Michelle meets Pineapple Express.
That seems so obvious now that you say it, and I feel so dumb for having said Laverne and Shirley for months.
Laverne and Shirley is great. I mean, any iconic
duo, exactly.
There's so many movies. Obviously, this also is like, we wanted to do something that kind of felt like a fresh take on a 90s, throwback movie, you know, Sour Party actually does have, despite it being as weird of a film as it is, has a very traditional structure. And we kind of wanted to take that like very classic road trip 90s buddy comedy and kind of turn it on its head in a way that felt interesting. So, you know, any number of movies from the 90s are references for this. And one person on the Discord called out Desperately Seeking Susan.
Oh, I know.
Another kind of offbeat reference that I had in my mind, at least.
That's fantastic. That's great. And I think that now that you say that about, you know, Desperately Seeking Susan and Romeo and Michelle, I think that that's really clear, that, and that comes through in the film. The tones are similar. The senses of humor are, I mean, yours is a little more edgy, I think, than Desperately Seeking Susan, just a touch, but
there's some hard hitting topics in that movie.
in a very good way. Absolutely. I want to talk to Amanda and Sammy as a pair. Sammy, of course, who played Gwen, Amanda, who played James in the film. I want to know how much of your own personalities and sort of your own idiosyncrasies made it into the characters. And can you give us an example or two? Can you be a little specific in how what we see on the screen is perhaps a manifestation of just you?
Man, I mean, I feel like, you know, part of acting is like finding yourself in the character. And I did have the privilege of developing Gwen alongside Amanda and Michael through the writing process and figuring out, you know, what was going to happen in the story. But Gwen and I are very different. And so it was really interesting kind of like excavating those parts of myself to bring real truth to it and like a grounded performance. But I remember when we finished the script, I was like, man, people like really might not like me after this.
Quite the opposite. I mean, you seem like so many people that I hung out with in college, and I'm just like, oh, just to be back in that time period and to hang out with those people.
Totally.
Now, I mean,
what about you, Amanda?
we were writing it, I mean, Michael's Gwen, like that's his personality.
Gwen lives in the.
No, for me, I mean, I live in Los Angeles. I know a lot of James, and James lives inside me. I own a lot of crystals and I have some boards. And so no, it was not difficult.
The cards were consulted to determine whether or not we should get married.
But like
The evidence is so nearby.
I'm probably more like James, like overall, than I am like Gwen as an overarching thing. But I think part of what makes the characters so, I don't know, like so real and so robust is because they are really based in like reality. And you know, we did like, we're already friends, and so we were able to really be vulnerable with each other even when it kind of felt foreign, I think, to behave in a particular way.
Oh, totally. We actually did a short based on these characters previously called it was called I Got Journals.
They're slightly different.
They're slightly different, of course, but it was very much the dynamic was opposite. Like I was more of the Gwen character that was angry and loud, and she was more of like the girl, like, oh my God, this is so exciting. And it didn't, we watched it and we were like, it's not. So when we approached about the film, we were like, we need to swap them. And we did, and it was the perfect decision.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sammy, did you have to study Michael to really understand the character of Gwen?
Well, you know, like I said, I was really there for like so much of the writing process, and so just in doing that, it was like it was like such a privilege to kind of like get to know Gwen as we were creating this story, you know, and just kind of like seeing, like deciding what her decisions were going to be as we were, you know, pushing this forward. And so I was able to kind of get ahead of the game a bit in that way, and really like think a lot about how it would feel to, and that, you know, there are aspects of her that I'm not foreign to. Like I totally have parents who help me, you know, and like there are things about her life that are also in me, but just her kind of like curt attitude and kind of like know-it-allness, you know, like that was like, I mean, I can remember going into production and being like, I don't know, this is going to be hard. And well, I think it may have been you were like, well, why don't you just go around town and like, you know, method act a little bit and act like Gwen. And I was like, I don't think I can do that. Like that, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, you know?
So, Michael, I have to ask then, did you get a UTI from taking a bath with Nate?
That was my fault.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Speaking of Nate, I do have a question for you. I understand you have some original music in this film. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So, in the in the script, you know, they said like they knew that I had the like the cosplay like robot suit, because I made that for a different production, but it was low budget enough that I could like keep it afterwards. And so they were like, let's use that, like we, you know, and it just said he's like wearing a robot suit and beatboxing. And I was like, I can do better than that. And like having a background in music and just like enjoying like the process of looping different sounds, and we've definitely been at, you know, like overnight parties together where like I'll have the loop station and I'll like sample people in the room while we're, you know, doing nefarious things, and it just makes for like really natural impromptu comedy. And And I think they, they were so busy with the film. I don't think they even thought to ask me to do anything beyond what was in the script. But and I thought about running it by them, but I also thought, you know what, I'm just gonna drop this on the crew when they show up.
You caught us off
Yeah,
guard
was
because
the
we were
right
coming back right from our wedding.
Yeah.
And you were
He caught you unawares.
They got married right in the middle of the production
So
on this feature.
Yeah.
so dumb.
Why did you do that to yourself?
Oh,
Well,
stupid.
so the wedding was obviously planned before the film shoot.
Yeah.
And then the film shoot came about and it was kind of like, it's now or never. These are the times. We had a very, we were getting so many favors and having so much help from people that we really had very narrow windows of when everything was available. So it was like, okay, we either shoot for 4 days and then
Sam
get
was
married,
leaving
or
the
we
country in like 3 months. Like we had
Wow.
a limited
Yeah.
window.
So we shot the first 4 days and then we broke and we went and got married, and we made the mistake of inviting everybody to the wedding, which it ended up being okay. But I mean, if one person got COVID,
Oh
like
my
partying at our wedding,
were
that the
all,
whole
like-
production would have been shut down. I don't know what we were thinking.
It was like a train from our reception. We were in Vegas going into the CVS drive-through line to get swabbed for like a COVID. And we're like driving out, we're all looking at each other like,
No.
And then it was like, nobody stop on the way home, like no.
yeah,
stop.
we were like, there's no
Take your
stopping.
COVID off, and
There's
then-
this, and you cannot talk. Like we had like snags in all the cars. We're just like, there's no stopping.
So it was stressful, but I think it was our honeymoon was actually making this movie.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
That's very unique. I mean, lots of people get married. Not very many people make a movie. It's fun that you did both at literally the same time. Doug, I want to ask you something. I want to ask you about finding Monty. Right? Was he based on anyone specific? You don't have to give me names, but or is he more of like sort of a composite of folks that you've interacted with, or what? Where did he come from?
Yeah, a combination of all that. It's someone very specific that we all know, and then just a little bit of from here and there. But Monty was a character that when I first read, I thought, this guy just can't be offended, and so he plays, but he can use it like as if somebody tries to offend him, that's kind of like his superpower because he uses it against them. I mean, when I was in I've been wearing glasses since I was in kindergarten, and my first grade teacher made fun of me for wearing glasses, and so
That's horrible.
offending me, but I use that as my superpower. So that's kind of like Monty, because she accuses me of the film and using her and this and that, and he acts offended, but that's kind of like Monty's superpower,
So what is?
But yeah, it's just
So what is Monty's film? What is it about? Do you guys have a log line for Monty's film?
The whole DVD is
Didn't we?
designed like it's featured in the film very briefly, but we took a lot of attention into that design, and those are real photos of Amanda and Doug on it, and superimposed over floating Hollywood sign. But I can send you the graphic and you can read it. There's
There's
a
a
whole
whole synopsis to the
It's
film.
like exactly what you think. It's like a male gaze 90s action film where Monty's the hero and Amanda's helpless. He saved her and she is stupid and doesn't know anything. She's a woman and he has to do everything. And then there's lots of explosions.
I think that the Discord would absolutely love that. So if you want to post that graphic in the Sour Party channel, that's a perfect little
I
like
can
Easter
find
egg.
it.
Yeah.
There's a moment in Monty's apartment when Gwen looks at the back of the DVD case, and if you pause that at that frame, you can read the description.
Okay.
Monty's movie would be perfect for next year's festival.
Yeah, you should make it into a short and submit it next year if you want to.
we
Are you kidding me?
A smaller project, that would be amazing.
Broken Dreams. Here we go. I found it.
Broken Dreams. And it's so thematically resonant, which of course it is.
Where should I post it? To the watch party or to the sour party?
Put it in Sour Party so it can just live there and I can pin it later on. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. That's great. Yeah. So if you're watching this and you haven't, seen this amazing graphic of the DVD
Oh my
from the
God,
film, there it is. Lala's got it. Oh my God. What is the tagline? Lights, camera, what is it?
Lights, camera, murder.
Oh my God. That's fantastic. I love it. I love it so much. All right. I want to talk to Steven. I want you to tell me about your most challenging day on Sour Party. Was there a particularly uncooperative location or sort of a unique circumstance that you had to wrestle with? Like, tell me about, like, as long as it's not too personal, your worst day, I guess, from a technical standpoint.
So I think we spoke about this live in person.
Okay.
But I think it bears repeating. The axe throwing, the rage cage was definitely, and that was Monty's scene. That was Doug's scene.
Yeah.
We lost our location because we had a space and somebody was like double booked, which all sound very, very shady. His like last minute, like, we're not available to the location. And then we had to find something. We were scrambling and we didn't really have like the resources to reschedule. Like we had to shoot that day. So we ended up finding this space, and it was kind of already had like kind of a vibe that we liked. It needed some La La love for sure, and a lot of broken dreams paraphernalia. But it was above a rage cage, so a place where people would rent a space to throw axes and scream. And it was right below us. So, and we didn't really know what was happening at first. We were just screaming and banging, and we were like, what is
metal
happening?
music. It's just metal music happening.
Thrashy death metal.
The perfect place to shoot a movie.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then we talked to them, like, what's going on? They're like, oh, there's an axe throwing thing. And I guess we couldn't get the schedule. So we just had to like, there'd be like a moment of silence. Like, okay, let's go. We shoot a take, and then like we just start happening again, and we just be waiting around. And I think miraculously, I think we did not maybe go into overtime that day. I think we skated away, maybe just like a tiny bit of OT.
We did. We went a little in OT, just a smidge.
Michael marches downstairs and he's like, "You throwing axes down here? Can you put one like right here for me, please? That's what I need today."
We should give a shout out to our sound mixer Ian on set.
Yeah,
he did such a good job of like really filtering out as best he could. And there's some takes that are in the film where the noises were happening and you don't hear it.
I learned to act 16 seconds at a time. So. It's like my specialty.
I think that's perfect for TikTok generation. So I think you're onto
Reggie might. I think Reggie might be in the waiting room.
Oh, is he? Oh, he is.
Oh.
Let's see. We got Glarf.
Hi, Glarf.
Hey, you made it.
Hello. Welcome. Welcome to the Chattanooga Film Festival. Have you ever been to Chattanooga before? Here you are. How do you like it?
Choo-Chooville.
Yeah.
I tried to come to Choo-Chooland once.
Yes. Once is all you really need. And
no, I need to come back. Many people were like, "Oh, I love Chattanooga." I was like, "Oh, that's great." But yeah.
I have a feeling some of the folks on this call will be back.
Okay, good.
I do actually, since you're here, I do have a question for you if you're ready for it, if you're ready for a hot one.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's do it.
I just tell me about how you came to join this project and tell me about your day on set. I assume it was a day. Tell me about your day on set.
Yeah, there was a musician named Sammy that invited me, and who was loosely associated to the project. And then I basically then I just showed up, and there was a sidewalk and some cacti or some air plants, whatever they're classified as, and I showed up and did it. And it was cool, but I still have no context. Like what I mean, I'm going to, but that's kind of like what I love. So she was just like, "Do you want to do this?" I was like, "Yeah, of course."
That's fantastic. So what's it like what's it like being like the Batman of plant-based crime?
Oh man, I tell you, it's within my character. It wasn't too much of a stretch. I usually go for pretty challenging stuff, but this was like a little bit more just closer to who I am. So it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too alien.
Drexton, tell me about the energy on set that day, the day that Reggie was.
Oh, it was great. It was exciting. I think
it was the only scene that was improvised.
It was improvised.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I walked up to Reggie. He was like, "Okay, what are we doing?" I was like, "Have you checked out the script?" He was like, "No," and I was like, "Amazing,
Awesome. Let's do it."
He did just like a 5-minute rundown of the scene, and
he was
just took
great.
it away. And Steven brought an extra camera that day, so we had 2 steady cams going, so we could kind of capture all the improv.
I think we did it in 3 hours.
Yeah, just every take was so funny.
Every take was so funny. Everything worked.
But yeah, super fun energy. It was really one of our best days. It was a pretty easy.
It was.
Don't let them fool you. Reggie's a diva. Nobody.
What's in your rider, Reggie? What's in your rider? Be honest.
Where's my lunch?
Where's my lunch?
Sandwich. Yeah.
That's true.
So there was no axe throwing in Reggie's scene?
No, there was no Doug. I'm sorry.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
There were gardeners.
There were gardeners. We had to wait for the guests.
And there's like a really prominent sound in that scene where you hear like
the
gate close.
And they try to cut around.
And there was a team of gardeners that were opening and closing that gate constantly, but we actually kind of liked it.
I remember that.
And so we kept
In LA, really?
Yeah, surprising.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this call. I'm going to ask Lala a question because I have to know about the Nick Cage bust.
Yes.
What is that? Where did it come from? What is it made of?
I think
There it
Michael and
is!
Amanda have it with them tonight.
There it is right there. Look at it in all of its glory. So
All the
tell me the
story.
story. What's the story behind this thing? Where did it come from?
So at the time, we were in a time crunch and we were trying to find, this was the hero prop. So, at the time we were first on the list of how we're getting this, and Michael and Amanda had actually sourced a 3D printing, shipping it from China, I believe. Like there was a way for us to source it in a different way that was going to be very scary and stressful. Will it arrive from China? I believe the price tag on that was $600 or so. And this is an incredibly low budget film in terms of what we had for that. Also, we were like, where is this going to come from? So I know 3D printing from my brother as an architect. And so I happen to know that when he was in grad school at Harvard getting a master's, he 3D printed a design of his building, and that kind of started the beginning in that world of design of like what that was. So I had experienced that, and I knew that he knew what that was. So I reached out to him about it, and he recently took a position as a professor at the University of Kentucky's School of Design. And he said, I can probably do it, but I would need that blueprint. I would need what we need to have to be able to print that at school. And I have to get it cleared by the school. And so my brother loves me very much because he took 2 very serious meetings with the dean of the school and with the head of that printing lab, and had to explain to them the project and then pull out this thing that we have bought to be able to do the printing. And I think that was like a $10 purchase or something. And they both said, what the hell is that Nicolas Cage's head? And he said, and he was just like, yeah, I had to take some serious meetings. It's going to take like 3+ days to print it. And I remember getting a text saying like, his nose looks amazing. Like we were literally just his face as it was coming through the printing press. It was like his eyes are stunning, So I was super proud. I went to UPS and I just said, listen, if nothing else gets there, we had some like other kind of cool things coming. My friend Sally Jean Weggert, who lives in Louisville, made like a special big gold cup that was incredible, and she actually finished Nick's face. So we were concerned about it popping, like if at the bottom you can see on the bust, right, it has some lettering. So we did do like a last minute paint sort of touch up on his face, and if you can tell, he's just, I mean, he's glowing, it's
Radiant.
really pretty incredible. So I felt great about it, went to UPS and told them very seriously what it was. And I am telling you, one of the guys working at UPS was a massive Nicolas Cage fan, specifically
isn't?
Face Off. And he thought it was his duty to get that bust to LA for this movie. And so he flew, Nick's head went from Lexington, Kentucky to Louisville, Kentucky. My brother drove it overnight. We got it we actually got it there. And a bunch of other props were stopped in customs. And when I say it was the only thing that got there that was like kind of important for the very day, it was like a miracle. And I just feel like, thank you so much. Like Nick has been with us every step of the way in spirit. He's been guiding us. So,
Is it
there
heavy?
it is.
Like, how much does it weigh?
No, we had to really try to make
like...
it feel. It's made of like a resin. It's like 3D printing plastic. And
okay.
When we thought about putting weights in it, we just couldn't find a good way. So credit to Sammy's amazing acting.
Yeah, so she lifted it. It felt heavy.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Lala spent months making all these elaborate props for the film and shipped them overnight.
And then they got stuck.
They got flagged as
it just happens. Like, it's so hard to like let that stuff go. But honestly, I hadn't done a lot of design like that where I'm not there, and so at the beginning we only did that for a few days, but a few days of shooting, and it was the car scenes. Like, I felt great about it. And at that point, you just have to keep going because you have so many other things to worry about for the upcoming film. And I just remember being so gutted. And then the first day of my day in LA, it was Van's scene. And Nathan Owen is like a really amazing designer as well himself. And so that just put me at ease. And they were also saying, like, you're going to be like, it looks so incredible in there. And Nate already has this hot tub. And when, how can you go wrong with like that scene with Van? And so that was my first day of being in LA shooting. And it was just the best day, it was the best start of the project. And I don't think if the Nicolas Cage bust had gotten there, I don't know what we would have done, because it is so integral to the story. And we were all just, hanging. I've never had to like hang my hat on props for so long in terms of like being a props master myself.
Right.
And that's why I freaking hate being a props master, right? Because you're like sick about this one thing you have to keep up with. And I did lose about $2,000 worth of keys on the set of the picture card, keys and other things like that. Like, I had a really bad key loss. And Steven Moreno is he's the kindest DP I've ever worked with. And he gave me an air tag and everyone was so sweet. Like, we were just literally like, the team was pulling through for me and for the design at every turn. Like, whatever needed to be done, they knew that I knew that they could step in and help me complete things. Like, I'm so proud of some of the teamwork that came in to complete like Nicolas Cage's altar. And like, our friend Shan found pictures of Nicolas Cage. She's like, Lola, what can I do for you? And I was like, can you get on the internet and get pictures of Nicolas Cage? And she was like, sexy pictures. And I'm like, yeah, like anything you can get.
Definitely
and so some of the smokiest
pictures.
photos we have, so friends were coming to pitch. My brother stepped in for the buzz, and then Sour Party itself, like they would help me day to day. And that's the kind of film that it was. Like, Monty's scene, that changed that morning. Like, Michael literally at 6 a.m., 5 a.m., I don't know, was just saying like, and I had already been collecting pizza boxes. We had all the Broken Dreams DVDs. We had all these wine glasses, like Monty's a wino. I don't know if you know, but there's all these things that we already had. And so it was just like a trust wall. Like, every single day, we're going to trust Wawa to like fill this setup and make it look like a hoarder thing. We're going to trust this. I'm like, yeah, it was one of the more collaborative films that I've ever had. And it meant a lot to me for everyone to understand how hard it was for pulling some of those things off. And like that budget, you know, Sammy went with me through Goodwills in Kentucky, and we got some of those pieces that you see throughout the film that just make those details. Like, so I was drawing Clueless, like how, like from some of my experiences where those two characters, like growing up in Kentucky, Clueless for me was LA, like for a long time. And so I was like, oh my God, like James and Gwen are giving me these vibes of like that. And so I was pulling a lot of that kind of like idealism of California and LA,
Sure.
and things that carry over to people moving there. And it's a very magical place, you know, and so the design felt supported in that way. And I just loved that Monty day as well, because Monty was in there just creeping us all out. Like it just fit all right in at the right times, you know, like and all the characters slid in. It's a very character driven design, and I am very proud of that, you
That
know.
magic, yeah, you can definitely see like how you took the idealized like Clueless thing and muted it and like brought it back down to more of like a baseline. It works on both levels. We are
I
running.
will say I love designing the girls' apartment. Like that to me is kind of like my like that makes my heart that like does it for me.
Yeah.
No, that apartment does it for me. And they really, when they came in there and set in that and did that scene and the tarot card and the bed stuff, it feels like our actor, like I say actor for actresses, whatever, however you want to say, our performances in this are stunning. And that's why that design works, because we had that small budget where we were doing blow up mattress stuff. We were piling things up, like, you know, that grassroots stuff. And Amanda and Sammy inhabited that space and are incredible because of that sells. I mean, for me,
Yeah,
you know, watching it.
They are amazing in it. We're running short on time. I do want to take a few questions from the Discord. We have some popped up here. Evan Jordan wants to know what's the Volvo's story. He considers it sort of a character in the coolest way in and of itself. So tell me about the Volvo.
Yeah, we went through a lot of trying to figure out what the cars were. Our original vision for it was actually like an early like 80s like Honda hatchback. Like two-door. And we wanted to find that, and we kind of found one, but then we realized like we're never gonna get the camera team here.
Exactly. We were like, they all have to be in there.
Yeah. So we were searching just on like cheap car. We almost bought a car off Craigslist.
Thank God we did not.
For like $200. We're like, what if this breaks down? So finally we came across the Volvo, and we're like, you know, Steven really didn't want us to pick it because it was white. And he was like, that thing's gonna go nuclear, guys. Like, it's gonna be blown out every shot. Like, can you find it any other color? So we were like really trying, but the Volvo just kept coming back to us. The price was right, you know, the owner was chill. And so we just went with the Volvo, and it ended up really working our favor because we could cram like
everyone fit.
At any given time in those car scenes, there's Steven in the back seat with a first AC pulling focus. There's me in the back on a monitor in the trunk with the sound guy, like spooning each other. And we're driving around LA, you know, making it happen. It did end up giving us some sound headaches, though, I will say. But I think
we could never figure out this rattle. We were like, there is a rattle in here that we just.
But you didn't. You never had to push it to the side of the road, did you?
No.
Oh, okay. So that's success. There you go.
It bottomed out a bunch of times.
Trying to decide, like, when she's on it, how are we going to protect it? Because we don't want to hurt the seats. And ultimately, we decided we're gonna just pee on this car and it's fine.
Jasmine wants to know what the shooting schedule was like with all the locations. You got a vehicle and lots of side characters.
It was wild. I mean, in the beginning, it was because of COVID, like 4 days on, 4 days off type of thing. And then because of people's schedule, when we started having like our like day players, it was just trying to get their schedules. So then it started being really choppy, but the beginning was pretty structured.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We shot 4 days at a time.
Yeah.
Principal photography, like the main bulk of the shoot was like 15 or 16 days.
Like 17 days.
He's got the calendar up.
He's like looking.
We shot the stuff with the sister and the mom. That's Augie Duke, our amazing actress, and that's her real mother in the scene as well. And that's all at her mom's house. So that was actually shot like 2 months before anything else. So that was a single day.
And then Durant was in July.
Durant
months
was
later.
also a few months later. It took us a while to cast that part. So all in all, it ended up being like 20 days total.
Speaking of Durant, we actually have a question about the douchebag tea pour. Where'd that come from?
Oh my God.
Oh, there was a very funny story. He couldn't
do it.
He couldn't do it. So then we're like, just screw it with it, make it look insane.
Yeah, it was supposed to be this ridiculous moment, but they were always like, I think we got a really cheap tea kettle off of Amazon too for it, and it would like always leak. So he'd pour it, and we were just like, oh, it's not looking right. And so yeah, then we just like go for broke. Like,
I love that.
So it's really, it happened in the moment, and we were all dying on set about it. We didn't think it was gonna make the final cut, but then we found a way to keep it in there.
There's a going theme here with flinging liquids in this film. So tell me about the peeing in a cup gag. Allison Walter from The Amazing Tearsucker, which also premiered on the ground at the Chattanooga Film Festival this year. She wants to know how you did the peeing in the cup gag.
I mean, as soon as we wrote in that Gwen gets a soda, like in a big gulp, I was like, guys, I have to pee in it. Like, there's just no alternative. That's where this has to go. And that's pretty much it. And then it just escalated. I think it splashing in James's face was maybe a decision we made on set. I can't remember if that was in the script or not.
It was definitely.
Yeah, and then like Lala constructed this amazing thing with tubes and
we were freaking out because we didn't know if we were like, how are we going to be driving and doing this? And then all of a sudden she was like, we don't need to drive.
Yeah.
So we were like, so we were stationary during that.
And we also were very trying to be very careful for Sammy. We were saying, you're comfortable with this. We were trying to find all kinds of clever ways to shoot it. And she was like, just fucking put the camera there. What are we doing here? This is Sour
Just
Party.
do it. I don't care.
I got very lucky and went to a special effects place and met Thane Morris, who actually was responsible for Indiana Jones, Alien, Poltergeist, blowing up the Starship Enterprise. Like, he's an older gentleman now, and he literally came behind a curtain like a wizard and was just like, what do you need? I was in there going like, SOS, I'm not a special effects artist. Like, I don't know how to accomplish this, but we have been trying to figure it out for quite a long time. That and the farts. And he was just like, tell me what you need. And I said, I mean, my friends need a fart colors. And he just disappeared and came back with the tiniest ever fog machine that like, he farted out of his pants, and I saw it and I started crying. It was so amazing. And he literally is a legend. And he's like, what's next? And I was like, she's peeing in a big gulp, our lead actress in the thing. And he was like, came right back and was like, here's the tube you need. You can do this. Like, you're going to be on a ladder outside the car. You're going to run a tube down your friend's panties. Like, I said, and I came back and they're like, how did you get this meeting? Like, Lala, he's really something. And I said, I drove to Van Nuys and I just said, SOS, I'm Lala from Kentucky. I need help.
I'm Lala from Kentucky.
Like,
how often has I'm Lala from Kentucky worked for you?
Many times.
Okay, all right.
Many times. But the thing that was so cool about it was he gave me his cell phone number. He like literally was like, I texted him and said, it worked. This is exactly, and everyone again stepped in. Like, Stephen was like, okay, what do we need to help do this? Like, let's help Lala onto the ladder. It was like never anyone on their own. And we had all been racking our brains for months about that colored fart scene. It was just, and the lighting, right? So Michael and Steven and Zach.
Our gaffer was like, I can light these. You don't need.
Yeah, they lit it and
light them farts up.
Yeah,
we're like,
I'm just
safe. And then our gaffer saved the day. He's just like, put a backlight on
it. We got this.
I'm so fascinated by the whole fart thing. Like, it's like you. What is she? Is she a fart witch? I'm not sure. Like, it stands out in such a fun way because it's like it's just like it's magical realism, right? In a film that's otherwise like fairly grounded. Like, I mean, it's there's some elevated stuff in it, but like there's a straight up scene of magical realism in this. Why? Where did that come from? Just talk about that.
We were writing the
Well,
script.
We wrote the script, and it was so funny because when we wrote it, I was like, "Are you gonna say like how we can come up?"
Yeah,
with
well, we were
words?"
really stuck on the idea.
Yeah.
We knew that we wanted someone to call back to the creepies.
The
We knew we
creepies.
wanted like someone to message them and be like, "I want you to do a live show for me." And we knew that we wanted it to be kind of something that got dangerous. And we're like, "What's gonna happen?" And we knew we wanted it to be a woman because we had the catfish joke, and we wanted them to be like, "It's safe. It's a woman. Like we can go over there. Like
Mhm.
it's not gonna be a creepy, pervert dude." So, but then we just couldn't figure out what to do. We were in that scene. What's happening? And I think it was me. I just said,
It was.
let me just try to vomit something out. And I just like somehow, like, I don't know, from the galactic center straight to my brain, like I just wrote that scene. And then I was like, okay, man, I'm gonna show you something. Like this isn't it. This isn't what it's gonna be. I just wrote this. It's not, this is not gonna make the film, but just maybe it'll spark something in you and be able to figure out what to do from here.
So I read it and I said it's perfect. And but I said I was like,
And you rolled a tear.
completely. And I said Sammy and Steven are gonna hate it. And so sure enough, we sent the script at the end, and I was like waiting for that scene, and Sammy was like, that the fart in the middle, I know. And then Steven said the same thing. We're like, trust us, we need a magical like realism moment. And then when we sent it to Cess, she was like the actress. She got back to us in like 2 days, and she was like, when I first read this scene, I said, oh no, I don't like this. But then I slept on it, and I have to play this role. And I was like, okay. And I was like, okay. And
draft after draft, it just grew on everybody.
It grew on everyone, yeah. And everyone was
awesome.
like, oh no, it's great.
And then we knew like, how are we gonna do this? Because it can't look like the other.
No, it has to look real.
So before we shot it, we found a VFX team that was willing to do it like for nothing for us, and we committed to doing it. And the actress, that character is my dear friend Cecily. I've known her for many, many years. It was so great to be able to put her in something. If you guys don't know who she is, you should find her because she's incredible. And she's not British, by the way.
Yeah.
She's Canadian in that accent.
Well, I really just have one more question for you, and that is sequel?
There's some different ideas
There's
about
some
this.
different-
I have my idea. They have a different one.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
one day.
Although I threw out
Dinner party.
Yeah.
I threw out an idea to Sammy, and she looked at me. She goes, "That's too sad."
Yeah. That was real dark.
Yeah, it was real dark. I was like, okay, I guess you're right. It is really too dark to do that.
Maybe Van's ghost can haunt them because Van, did you die? So
Oh, Van.
Dan comes back as a ghost.
Yeah,
for sure.
Can you give me like one dead sequel idea that you have, one that's not going to happen?
What was that?
Can you give me one
Broken
dead,
Dreams.
like a dead sequel idea that you had but is not going to happen?
Oh, should I say the one that you guys both?
I want to, yeah, give me
one
the
that was
sad one.
Say the
Go
sad
for
one.
it. I'll say the sad one that's not going to be, because I agree it is too dark. Well, it was just this idea that like, even though it's in the future, like we still look exactly the same. And even though like keep saying we're older, but then in the end, like you look in the reflection of the car and we're like 80 years old. We've like with the Arrested Development, like we still have yet to learn and grow, and we're still
Oh
acting.
my God.
I
Yeah,
like
and
it.
Sammy just looked at me. She took like a swallow. She's like, "That's too much."
I kind of love it though.
right. I was like,
we know that the sequel is going to be them older. Like we want them to be 30, 40 years from now. And when I say like the nephew that her sister gives birth to is now like graduating high school or graduating college, and they like do something to like try to help him, but they end up ruining his life. And that would be the sour party.
But don't you think the perfect sequel would be James working with Monty again?
Oh.
Monty's like a big time director of the sequel.
Doug's trying to get a
20
job.
Or maybe not.
Running Warner Brothers
Yeah.
or something.
Funded by a cockroach lawsuit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got the cockroach lawsuit. He's a huge director. Yeah, Van is like gonna be like Slimer. He'll come back as like a ghost. Every time he interacts with anyone, they're like covered in goo.
Oh.
Post-apocalyptic, I think.
Let's not print
Mad
anything.
Max.
Let's not be ruminating on this.
You tell us, as we like to say.
So I think we're pretty much out of time. There's one thing that I would like to do. I would like to turn this Q&A around And I want to ask the Discord a question, because we've heard a lot of people talking about how quotable this movie is. I even told you guys before we went live, I feel like for me, this is the most quotable movie since Napoleon Dynamite. And I think that that's one of its great features as a film, and makes it super memorable and revisitable and interactive, and all of the things that a great movie that you can return to and kind of tends to have legs should be. So I want to ask the Discord if you could go into the Sour Party channel on our Discord and give us your favorite quote from. I want to hear your favorite quote. So what is your favorite quote from Sour Party? Post that into the Sour Party channel so that we all can see it, and these lovely faces here, filmmakers and actors, I can see that too. I think that would. I'm very happy, and it's just been a love fest. I've really enjoyed being able to interact with you guys on the ground here in the virtual Q&A, and I think it goes without saying, but you always have a home with the Chattanooga Film Festival, and I want to thank all of you so much for being a part of this and for letting us world premiere an incredible, hilarious movie, all clearly care about very deeply. And that's pretty much it. So I want to thank everybody for watching, and everybody have a good night. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Maybe there'll be some merch with your favorite quote. And if it is succulent on this, you should all know that Reggie improvised.
Reggie came up with that. Yeah.
The what?
Succulent on this.
Oh yeah.
All right,
Thank
thanks
you so
all.
much, Justin. You guys have been amazing. It's been such a privilege. Love you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you.
Bye-bye now.